Content warning. Tone Deaf is rated explicit for mature content and strong language. Spoilers are in every episode, so if you haven't seen the shows we are reviewing, you can always check back in later with us. We'll be here when you get back.
Welcome to Tone Deaf, a theater nerd's guide for their musically challenged spouse. I'm Kay, a musical theater nerd.
And I'm Warren, I'm musically challenged.
You're way more excited than you should be for this one.
Because this is the last one we're doing for a little bit.
Thank fucking Christ.
So I'm allowing myself to feel some joy before we watch this episode. And then I can be sad and upset, but I won't have to deal with the fourth episode for a while. Ba-doom, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, thank God Jingle Jangle came out so that we can do it after this one. Because, yeah, folks, next week is Jingle Jangle.
Yeah, it's like a palate cleanser for our eyes and earballs.
God damn.
And that's right, I said earballs. That was not a mistake.
Yeah, we're going to be doing Land Before Time 3, The Time of the Great Giving. Because tomorrow's Thanksgiving for those of you listening on the day of release, aka another day that we sit here and whitewash history and say, we all sat down and ate dinner together, and not mention smallpox and all the genocide, and I'm sorry, I'm grumpy.
Manifest destiny!
I'm so grumpy. But, you know, I mean, this is still, like, even if this wasn't a Thanksgiving Land Before Time movie, which I can't believe I'm saying this, it still is tangential because dinosaurs, turkeys, yada yada.
I wonder what Brontosaurus tastes like.
Probably closer to crocodile than chicken.
So does that mean T-Rex would taste more like chicken?
Probably. Or T-Rex, or they could taste more like duck. Because they'd probably be one that you could undercook rather than overcook.
After the episode is over, leave your comments about which dinosaur you think would be the best to eat.
Dinosaur. Anyway.
So what's the name of this episode again?
The Land Before Time, The Time of the Great Giving.
Great Giving. I mean, as people know, getting is great, but giving is also very nice.
It is, but not with this. So, like I said, this is going to feel like a crappy Thanksgiving movie, even though, yeah, even though it was released after Thanksgiving. It was released December 12th, 1995. Growing up...
Because it works in between, because giving, but also like presents giving, like Christmas.
Yeah.
So you see, it came in the middle, giggity, because it could occupy either. So they're trying to shoehorn it in to occupy both. They're trying to double the potential to capitalize on holiday movie musical things.
This is before Christmas started encroaching on all the other holidays.
Mm-hmm. Before Santa started shoving his ass into the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
Going, get ready for the biggest commercial holiday season of the year! Be sure to put your credit cards in excessive debt that you'll pay off until next Christmas! PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X released this year! Elves have been working overtime to meet demands! You can finance it now through Santa's Happy Jolly card, available with Chase Bank.
Now, did Santa bring you expensive gifts? Because Santa wasn't the one who brought me expensive gifts.
No, because I remember as a kid, there would be a mixture of gifts from mom and dad and a mixture of gifts from Santa.
Yeah.
So often what my parents would do is if I got like clothing or something like that, that would be a gift from the parents. And then if I got a toy, that would be a gift from Santa. You know, my Transformers and my Ninja Turtles and stuff like that would be toys from Santa, and then my socks and underwear and stuff would be from mom and dad.
Santa and the Tooth Fairy both did like Littlest Pet Shop things. The Tooth Fairy was the smaller ones, Santa was the bigger ones. But those, you know, weren't very expensive at the time.
I remember one year The Easter Bunny, just trying to encroach in on Santa's territory, and one year for Easter I got a Nerf bow and arrow.
Yeah, Easter Bunny did encroach on Santa with me too.
See, that only happened once though. I'm pretty sure he got his bell rung, by the fat man who was like, "Don't you encroach on my gift-giving season, you little fucking vermin! Stick to candied eggs and chocolate."
Oh man, I'm putting this off. So, if you can't tell, this growing up even was my least favorite one.
Of all of them?
Well, before Secret of Saurus Rock was released. That one was fucking stupid.
What number is that?
That one is 5.
Okay, so
we're on our way.
Not that
it's either
far
5
away.
or 6. I'm trying to remember, no, it's 6, because 5 is Mysterious Island.
And you said it's Secret of Saurus Rock?
Secret of Saurus Rock.
So it's about sodomy. Secret of Saurus Rock. It's the rock that they all go to and experiment with one another.
He is the lone dinosaur. Which, again...
Well, I guess they only have one hole, so... Call it the Secret of Sore Hole Rock.
So,
sex jokes in a children's show.
Here's the thing, though, about this one. New York Post rated the movies and put this at the number 2 spot.
They probably got a kickback. Oh, wait, you said New York Post?
Yeah.
Yeah, New York Post is trash, so that does not surprise me.
It does make me wonder, is this better than I remember it? Probably not, but we'll get into the other reason that I'm going am I misremembering this one? Is this one not hot flaming garbage? It probably is, but... So, our cast returns for this movie from the last one, pretty much unchanged. There are a few additions, but they're only for this movie.
New characters!
There's no James Horner at all in this, and our songs are written by Michelle Berman and Amanda McBroom.
So now we know who to track down.
Exactly. However, this is the thing that made me go, maybe this is deeper. One of the songs that the bullies sing is cited in a book called Welcome to the Desert of the Real by Slovenian Marxist philosopher Slavoj Žižek.
Welcome to the desert!
Zizek?
We've got fun and games! We've got sinking sand and all of our games are lame!
So, let's see, where was I?
Sorry.
So he says, and let me actually pull up from the exact book, because this is so weird. Alright, so he says, the well-known and highly successful animated series The Land Before Time, produced by Steven Spielberg, provides what is arguably the clearest articulation of the hegemonic liberal multiculturalist ideology. The same message is repeated again and again. We are all different. Some of us are big, some are small. Some know how to fight, others know how to flee. But we should all learn to live with these differences, to perceive them as something which makes our lives richer. Recall the echo of this attitude in the recent reports on how the Al-Qaeda prisoners are treated at Guantanamo Bay. They're given food appropriate to their specific and cultural and religious needs, allowed to pray, etc. From and on the outside we appear different, but inside we are all the same, frightened individuals at a loss in the world needing the help of others. In one of the songs, the big bad dinosaurs sing about how those who are big can break all the rules, behave badly, squash those who are helpless and small. With the lyrics being, when you're big, you can push all the little ones around. They're looking up while you're looking down. Things are better when you're big. All the rules that the grown-ups made, they don't apply to you. The answer of the small oppressed ones in the following song is not to fight the big ones, but to understand that behind their bullying exterior, they are no different from us, secretly afraid with their share of problems. They have feelings just like we do. They have problems too. We think because they're big they don't, but they do. They're louder and they're stronger and they make a bigger fuss, but deep down inside I think they're kids like us. The obvious conclusion is therefore the praise of differences. It takes all sorts to make a world. Short and tall sorts, large and small sorts, to fill this pretty planet with love and laughter, to make it great to live in tomorrow and the day after. With all types, without a doubt, dumb and wise types, every size types, to do all the things that need to be done to make our life fun. And he does go on to say, the problem, of course, is how far do we go? It takes all sorts. Does that mean nice and brutal poor and rich, victims and torturers. The references to the dinosaur kingdom is especially ambiguous here, with its brutal character of animal species devouring each other. Is this also one of the things that need to be done to make our life fun? The very inner inconsistency of this vision of prelapsarian land before time thus bears witness to how the message of collaboration and differences is ideology at its purest. Maybe I need to give the show more credit.
So,
maybe.
Was this the one that you said was from New York Post?
No, this is from Welcome to the Desert.
That is way too deep to be New York Post.
No, this is not New York Post. This is that Slovenian philosopher.
Which, that's a pretty interesting take on it.
Right?
Especially when you were quoting some of the lyrics regarding the bullies.
Yeah.
Because, extrapolating on that a little bit, so much of not just American society, but geopolitical society, if you are stronger, and usually that means military might, you can get away with stuff.
Yeah.
Because people can't say no.
Yeah. And so I'm wondering, maybe this one's better than I remember it. If it caught the eye of a fucking philosopher. But we'll see. We do know, though, what you're really here for with these Land Before Time movies.
Don't say music.
No.
Dinosaurs?
Dinosaur facts.
Ha!
And since we're on the third movie, I'm doing 3 dinosaur facts for you.
Oh god. Does that mean the 4th will have 4? The 5th will have 5? The 6th will have 6? And by 14 we'll be dead?
No, because there's not enough stuff that I can justify in each movie to... They don't introduce as many species, but this one was kind of fun to do. And we're going to actually learn all about our 3 bully characters.
I have a request.
Yes.
Do you think you could do it in the accent of like a documentarian?
Maybe? We'll see?
The audience demands it!
Oh god.
Inside my head.
My accents are not great, especially this morning, but
Just channel your inner BBC, darling. Today's episode of Tone Deaf is brought to you by Dinosaur Facts. Presented by the lovely Kay.
The first is Hip, a Hypsilophodon. He's going to be the smallest in the gang, even when he grows up. These are currently thought to be basal ornithopods, though a 2017 paper puts them outside of the group as a sister group to Sauropoda, the basal ornithischian that branches into Marginocephalia, paleosaurs and ceratopsians, and ornithopods, all of your other neo-ornithischians, bird-hip dinosaurs that are not thyreophorans, heterodontosaurids, think pegamastids, etc. They were once an iguanodonti, but they were moved out in 1882, forming their own family. They were discovered in 1849 in the Wessex Formation. Paleontology being what it was, this specimen was split up between famous British paleontologist Gideon Mantell and naturalist James Scott Bowerbank. Eventually, both halves were reunited at the British Museum and were studied by Richard Owens, who believed them to be just a young iguanodon. Then, in 1867, Thomas Henry Huxley was like, "This is a whole-ass different species." And this was supported by a skull found in 1868 by Reverend William Fox in the same block of the formation that looked very different from iguanodon. With this, Huxley was able to study more and in 1869 conclude that this skull and the skeleton that were found were not a baby iguanodon, but instead its own species, Hypsilophodon. This was helped by finding more of this animal in the block that the original fossils were found in. The creature was named for a genus of lizard that had similar teeth. Hypsilophus, which is now a synonym for iguanodon. So basically iguanodon and Hypsilophodon are the same damn lizard.
They're not lizards.
Or named for the same damn lizard. They're not lizards, they're still birds, but they're named for the same damn lizard. Hypsilophodon currently only has one species in its genus, Hypsilophodon foxy. There was a time... Actually, it might be foxii. Yeah, foxii is probably more correct. There was a time when there was Hypsilophodon weilandii, but that is now a dryasaurid. Or possibly Camptosaurus. Because dinosaurs like to fuck shit up in taxonomy.
It's not their fault, they're dead.
These were small dinosaurs, about 2.3 meters long, at the longest, and weighing at the most 44 pounds. They were bipedal, lightweight, had mobile tails and also some surprisingly basal features for being early Cretaceous dinosaurs. Namely, they had 5 digits on each hand and 4 on each foot. You don't see that in more derived dinosaurs. Even wilder, the 5th finger was opposable for grabbing.
Fascinating.
These guys had a beak and teeth, so the teeth on Hip in the movie are going to be very inaccurate. They were considered the deer of the Mesozoic, being herbivores with quite a bit of proof of herd behavior, i.e., most of the specimens were probably achieved through a mass death of sorts, as well as parental care. Next up, we have Mutt, the Muttaburrasaurus. This is an Australian dinosaur and is named after Muttaburra, a town in Queensland, and where this dinosaur was discovered. This fella was lucky, being discovered in the 1960s, less of a chance of being reconstructed like a big fucking lizard like Iguanodon was. They're pretty decent-sized ornithopods, being 28 feet long and weighing 3.1 short tons, and they were most likely unable to be quadrupedal due to them being basal compared to more derived iguanodontids. In fact, this guy used to be considered a proper iguanodontid but was moved further back taxonomically, being a rhabidontomorph. Being less basal than Hypsilophodon, these guys had 4 fingers on each hand and 4 toes on long feet. The most characteristic thing about these guys is their nasal muzzle. It is enlarged and has an upward bulge, but it is unclear as to whether this was for display or calling, since there isn't any fossilized nasal tissue to be found. These guys, like ceratopsians and pachycephalosaurs, were once thought to be omnivorous, but the dentition now appears to indicate a diet of cycads and other tough vegetation. Their dentition looks to be a case of convergent evolution with ceratopsians. This fella here is another single-species genus, with Muttaburrasaurus langdoni being the species. However, they were very successful, having been found pretty well distributed in Queensland and New South Wales. Last but not least, we have Nod, a Nodosaurus, meaning knobbed lizard. This would be the anchor dino for its whole family, Nodosauridae. Nodosauridae is the family of Ankylosaur order that is closer to Peneloposaurus than Ankylosaurus. Originally, that is, in 1998. This has kind of been changed because they're 2 nodosaurids that aren't really easy to place on a cladogram. These are the armored dinos without clubs and contains Boropelta, the nodosaur mummy that was found in Alberta and has the most complete set of armor as it would have been in life. These dinos were damn tanks. Nodosaurus textilis is the type species and was one of the first North American armored dinos to be discovered. They're from Wyoming and were named by Othaniel Marsh of the Bone Wars in 1889. This species is also underrepresented in the fossil record because there just haven't been as many remains found. As far as we know, they were medium to large-sized, 4 to 6 meters long and about 3.8 short tons. The osteoderms, the armor, was only on the back, so no belly protection, so if it was rolled over, it's dead. Because of how fragmentary the remains are, however, it is uncertain if this guy had spikes or not. Nodosaurids had wicked shoulder spikes in some species. These guys are late Cretaceous dinosaurs from about 100 to 97 million years ago. All 3 of them are ornithischians, with Nod being a Thyreoforum, which is where your spike-tailed and armored boys come from. I won't go any further down the rabbit hole here, because I almost went into dinosaur cladistics land and this episode would never have come out. Why, thank you. And I can show you the 3 dinosaurs for you so that you know what they would have looked like. So I'll show you Nodosaurus first. So Nodosaurus is just kind of your basic...
Okay. Yeah, he's armored with a tipped tail, and he's got basically kind of looks like serrated spikes down his side where the top armor meets the soft underbelly.
Yeah.
It's a cool looking dinosaur.
Yeah, they're pretty chill little dudes.
Kind of looks like a prehistoric armadillo, but if it was a dinosaur.
Yeah, they're probably the least interesting of them, but also most interesting.
I think they look pretty cool.
Like you don't know what they would have looked like. And then we've got this fella here, Hypsilophodon. Little dude. Little bitty baby.
More like hipster Lophodon. Just put a fedora on him. And a ascot.
And then we have Muttaburrasaurus, which is the wildest looking of them. There's his little nose horn.
Fleshy sack you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. That they're not sure if it was a fleshy sack or if it was a bone structure. They're not 100% sure, but there's
He's got a nose growth.
Yep, he's got a nose growth. So, do you have any questions before we go and watch the Thanksgiving dinosaur movie?
So
that's not Freebirds.
Which one of the three you talked about do you think would taste the best?
Hypsilophodon was a running dinosaur, so they'd probably be a little bit gamier, but I like gamey meats, so I probably would eat Hypsilophodon. Muttaburrasaurus would probably not. They'd probably be a little bit fattier. Yeah. Either of those two. I wouldn't want to try to take a crack at Notosaurus at all.
So you're going to say no to taking a crack at Notosaurus?
I'm going to say no to taking a crack at Notosaurus. First off, like, I've never had turtle, but I have a feeling that it would not taste as good. And also, I don't know, the fact that it's so fragmentary, I don't know how successful that species was, because we don't know. And I would not want to eat an endangered animal. I am not Charles Darwin.
Touche, Kay, touche.
Yes.
All right, no further questions.
All right.
Shall we fire up the electronic box and watch a deep dive into the past of animation history, focusing on the avian and non-avian dinosaurs of yesteryear?
Avian dinosaurs are in the next movie.
Oh, so specifically non-avian.
Non-avians in this, yep. And a couple of other archosaurs.
Jolly good.
Also, just so that you know, there are velociraptors in this, but this is Jurassic Park era velociraptors, so they're going to be too big, scaly as hell. They're basically Deinonychus, but they, in the Land Before Time wiki, they're called velociraptors, which bothers me.
Well,
velociraptors were the size of a turkey, and I need to see more media with that.
Well, you know.
Like, I want a Jurassic Park type movie with actual velociraptors as they would have been in life.
Do you think compies see Velociraptor as like them but stronger? Like,
I wish I was a velociraptor. Then nobody would fuck with me.
They would probably see velociraptors as death.
That's what I mean. Like compies tell stories about velociraptors, and they're like,
you better be good or velociraptor will get you.
Remember, we hide in the underbrush. You don't want to be killed by a 4-foot-long turkey. Shall we?
Let's go!
Hey, Warren.
Hey, Kay.
Do you know what time it is?
Is it time to thank our favorite people in the whole world?
Heck yeah! Today, we would like to thank our stage crew sponsor, Jasmine Wu.
And our producer circle sponsors, Bianucci, Reagan, and Taylor Brandt.
Thank you all so much for your support of our show.
We truly appreciate it.
Hey, we're Hannah and Erik Go Birding. We've been described as the combo of birder goals and relationship goals.
We bring you this podcast by birders for birders of all skill levels and interests.
We share our adventures, sometimes misadventures, and our opinions about birding topics.
We love to go on adventures, meet new people, and watch birds.
On this podcast, we highlight cool places, discuss neat birds, showcase awesome people, have a good time, and try to make the birding world a better place.
Find us anywhere you listen to podcasts every other Thursday, and learn more at www.gobirdingpodcast.com.
And now, the lights are going down and the music's starting back up, so let's head back to the second act of our show. So that wasn't terrible.
That was not as bad as I was afraid it would be. I don't know if it's just expectations dwindling and being surprised, especially going in here going, oh wow, this is going to be terrible. And then it was interesting in the first half with you reading that quote from that philosopher.
Yeah.
And being like, oh, maybe there's more depth to this than previously thought. And there were a couple moments that actually surprised me in the movie. And we will talk about those.
Yes. I had, like, some feelings, and we talked about them off mic. But, yeah, I liked this better than I did as a kid, and I think it's because of when I first saw this as a kid was when certain things were happening in my life, which is why I'm kind of like, thank you Jingle Jangle for coming out so that we don't have to do Journey Through the Mist, because I'm going to be a fucking wreck with that one. Yeah, I enjoyed it more than I remember ever enjoying this one. The ending, not so much, but everything else was better than I remembered it.
I feel like I have to temper my praise, because I don't feel like it was good.
It was not good.
But there were a couple positive things about it. Usually a lot of kids media, they try to shoehorn in a moral, you know, that feels it doesn't feel genuine. It feels like it's there to meet a obligation that's expected of something that's made for children, you know?
Yeah.
This one actually had a moment in it that I felt like was genuine and actually had real world applications for it, you know? You get some dumb morals that's always like, oh, be nice, because you should be nice, because being nice is nice, and it's nice to be nice. Which,
nice is neat.
Nice is neat. Well, which is like, sure, that's fine. That's a pretty safe moral.
Yeah.
But this one was a little bit deeper and had to do with child rearing, you know, and displaying of aggression.
And I kind of wish that had been the main thrust of the whole movie, instead of because I feel like that was an accidental moral, because the real moral they spell out at the very end.
You're probably right.
And I feel like if they would have just stuck with more exploring of the parental rearing and what that can do to a kid and generational trauma, because they hit on that really well.
They do. Like, I feel like the more important moral takes a back seat to the title moral, which, you know, like we stated, they're trying to shoehorn in a Thanksgiving kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of vague. Like, well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it and we'll bitch about what needs to be bitched about.
Yep.
We shall.
Yes.
A long time ago, in a galaxy that we're currently in, we get a shot of the galaxy, a galaxy, our galaxy, or is it a giant sunny side up space egg? It's really anyone's
a baby
guess.
Galaxy.
Was it baby? Oh,
or it could be a baby solar system, because it could be the sun,
you know,
pulling everything in, and then planets breaking off. And
that's actually probably more accurate. That's a very good hypothesis right there. Good job, Kay. But however, the narrator chimes in saying something we haven't heard yet. Oh, and it's a different narrator this time as well. Anyways, the narrator mentions that 3.5 billion years ago, or was it 3,500 million years ago, life first began developing on Earth. And thanks to God's guiding hand, life began to change. And over millions of years in water, they got too pruny and decided to dry off by climbing out of the water and settling on land, allegedly.
Those were some of the most beautiful moments artistically.
They were really good, because it starts with, you know, single-celled organisms, and then it shows some of, like, the ancient sea life and anemones and stuff like that. And then you see the frog lizard, for lack of, you know, amphibious.
Tiktaalik.
Yeah, Tiktaalik. You smart, beautiful, wonderful person. I love you. They show Tiktaalik climbing out of the water to be like, it's dry out here. You know, then they talk about evolving, you know.
Yeah, and I give them credit for not trying to be like, this was a long time ago, we're not going to say when, we're just going to say long ago, not millions of years. No, they went, 3.5 billion years ago.
Fuck you, young Earth creationists.
Yeah.
But yeah, the supposed adaptations gave way to thousands of different types of creatures, the mightiest of which we call the dinosaur. And
All hail Con and Dor.
All hail Con and Dor. And we're leaving out the previous movies and just pretending like dinosaurs have always lived in the Great Valley. Because that's the way the narrator talks about it. They lived in the Great Valley where everything was lush and plentiful. And
I mean, it would make sense, though, that there were dinosaurs who lived there already who were granting asylum to other dinosaurs that were migrating. Because they knew that the Great Valley was there. How else would they know other than instinctual migrations back and forth?
You know, you make a fantastic point that I've never considered, because in the first movie, when Littlefoot's asking his mom about the Great Valley, and he's like, well, how do you know it's there if you haven't ever seen it? And she's like, sometimes some things you know with your eyes. Oh, some things you see with your eyes, other things you see with your heart. Kind of thing. And I chalk that up to being like, oh, well, we believe that it's there. We have to believe that there's this dinosaur paradise that we're heading to. Otherwise, we will just give in to despair and doom and gloom. But it never dawned on my smooth brain that Littlefoot's mother had that migration instinct in her, and that's how she knew the landmarks, you know? Fuck me. All right. So,
remember, later.
Yes. As the narrator goes on to introduce our roster of baby heroes and their type, all scientific-like, of course. Who could forget such dry and scientific names like Longneck, Three-Horn, Spiketail, Flyer, and Swimmer? Such thought and knowledge went into these classifications.
I mean, if you're a dinosaur, that's kind of how you would describe it. I'm giving the movies too much credit. But it's...
I mean, granted, it is for a younger audience, and if they were to rattle off scientific genuses for these dinosaurs... I mean, not everybody is you. Not every child who likes dinosaurs is as smart as you.
There are a lot of kids who will remember all of the names of the dinosaurs, but cannot tell you what happened in the book that they were supposed to read that night.
Fair.
Kind of like naming all the Pokemon. Kids will have different hyperfixations. Mine happen to be dead birds.
Anyways, our baby gang of heroes are playing with rocks, because they don't have video games yet. And while they're playing with rocks, the rocks roll and roll. The rolling stones gather no moss. And Baby Steps, the long neck, chases after the rolling stone. The rolling stone is stopped by a Jerkosaurus who
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm sorry.
The rolling stone is stopped by a Jerkosaurus who is like,
Neener, 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 this is my rock now, and you can't have it.
And the bully dinosaur has his bully buddies next to him, and they're all like, ha 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 ha, we're villains. Sarah, the three-horn, is like,
my dad said that I'm the best and most special supreme of dinosaurs, so give me that rock before I supreme all over your face.
And the bullies are like,
no, didn't you read the script? We're baddies.
And they dodge Sarah's half-assed charge attempt. God gets mad with Sarah's failure to charge properly and causes a volcanic eruption, which sends fireballs and landslides crashing into the Great Valley. These dinosaurs really should have scouted the neighborhood better before settling in a valley that's right next to a fiery mountain of volcanic death. Oh well, hindsight is 20/20, of course, and in this year, 2020, it has been a year full of hindsight. The eruption stops, and the dinosaurs are like,
oh boy, glad that's over. Now all conflicts have been resolved.
Baby Steps comments to his grandparents that the eruption was scary and exciting, and he sure would like to go out to the great beyond and see what that was all about. But he's way too distracted by the pretty skylights of the aurora. Grandpa Big Steps is like, don't you get into any trouble this movie, or so help me. The next day, the family is at breakfast, eating plants and drinking water, when, suddenly, the waterfall stops, and all the dinosaurs are like, well, shit, what happened to all the water? Grandpa Big Steps tells Baby Steps to wait here and not get into any shenanigans while the grown-ups talk about their impending slow death due to dehydration. The baby gang haven't a care in the world for the impending slow death and continue with their childlike playing of games such as hide and seek. Baby Steps tries to notify his friends of their impending slow death via the lack of water cascading down the thundering falls. But the doom and gloom gets interrupted by the bully trio of our show, who launch into a song about why they get to be assholes. They get to be assholes because they're big, and being big entitles you to do whatever the fuck you want. I don't think these clowns realize that by dino standards, Baby Steps should eventually grow up to be a fucking monster in size, and he'll be able to stomp these bullies to death. When the baby gang point this fact out to the bullies are like, well, if we kill you, then you'll never grow up to be bigger than us.
I love that whole thing with, Hip, why are you saying this? Your kind never get very big.
Yeah. And then after they tell them, like, they'll never grow up to be bigger than us, and then I'm like, holy fucking shit, Land Before Time. I mean, you're not wrong, but these guys are actively talking about how they need to murder the other dinosaurs so they never get big enough to bully them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fuck, man.
Yep. I mean, that's a type of bully that exists, is that I'm gonna kill your ass.
Mm-hmm. The baby gang sneaks away while the bullies discuss their murder plans. And the bullies are left holding their raging murder dick. We jump to the adult dinos acting like adults. We jump to the adult dinos acting like adults and talking about how they need to ration water and pray to Raptor Jesus for the Thunder Falls to give them water again. And if their dino prayers are unanswered, they may have to leave the Great Valley in search of a new home. This causes some discussion among the other adults, who start pointing tails and horns at one another, accusing them and their kind of wasting water and not thinking of others. Bad role models, the whole lot of them. We then see the baby gang playing in a pond and having a good old time. That is, until the bullies show up again, briefly, but long enough to cause Baby Steps to splash and accidentally hit Sarah's dick of a father, who is like, "Gah! I got splashed, and Baby Steps is wasting water. I'm not going to let my daughter play with your wasteful grandson anymore." Sarah's father tries to lead her away from her friends, and Sarah is like, "No!" and then immediately buckles under pressure, and sad walks away with her dickhorn father.
God, poor Sarah with her dad, man.
And the other babies get led away by their parents, and Baby Steps is sad. Grandpa Big Steps says that the adults are scared, and sometimes fear makes people act weird, which is a good solid point there.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those times that's like, hey, you know what? What you said is true.
Yes.
Good job.
Why isn't this more focused on with the moral instead of the shoehorned...
The great giving. Sarah's dad does a shitty job of explaining why Baby Steps is a bad influence, and Sarah is like,
I hate this fucking family!
and she runs away. Sarah's dad is like, "Ah, the youth of today."
I feel like that's Sarah's life motto, is just, I hate this fucking family. Because in future movies, that is her motto, pretty much. It's just, I hate this fucking family.
I hate this fucking family. I never get McDonald's. You always say that we have leaves at home.
The next morning, Baby Steps is woken up by his grandparents, who are like,
Let's drink some morning dew before the angry skyball dries up the morning dew.
The grandparents give Baby Steps a tree star that has water in it, and Baby Steps tries to dive into the leaf head first, to drink. He then destroys the tree star, forcing it to crumple into 1,000 pieces. His grandpa explains that the lack of water is making the leaves dry, and if the water doesn't return, then water will get harder and harder to come by, and soon fires will become more common in the Great Valley. And then they remind Baby Steps of the many, many escape paths in the Great Valley, 'cause I guess they have fire drills.
And it's the 90s, and I mean, that was when we had all of are fire safety videos and fire safety cartoons, and
That's a good point.
yeah, so this is like the most 90s of the movies, I feel.
Remember how we showed you how to get away?
Remember the escape paths,
Yeah,
little...
remember the escape
Like, she
paths.
was almost looking into the camera with that one.
It's almost one of those.
If a strange dinosaur tells you to come with them, ask what the passphrase is.
Like, do you remember those things? Those PSAs?
I
Make
still...
sure you and your family
I
have
still
a passphrase.
remember my passphrase, so I'm not saying it because someone might steal me, but I still remember my passphrase.
They'd have to steal you away from me first, and I ain't letting go of you. The long necks wander around from dry plant to dry plant, and the grandparents eventually find some green foods for Baby Steps, since he's growing and needs the very best green foods. Baby Steps is like,
Oh, okay then.
and he eats it, but then he's all,
I'm thirsty now.
and the grandparents have to be like, well, we're not allowed to have water until later. But you're a child, so maybe Sarah's dickhorn father will be more merciful to a child who's thirsty. And we all laugh and laugh. Because Sarah's dad is not just a dickhorn, he's a triple dickhorn. And he displays this with a song about how you have to be tough and hard to survive. And he sings this song while everyone is thirsty. It sounds like he convinces about half of the dinosaurs to his way of thinking, being a jerk, and the other half are like, what a dick, and walk off. And when you're talking about the generational trauma, because he talks about how he's hard and tough because his dad was hard and tough.
And so he's gonna make Sarah hard and tough.
Yeah, exactly. Because you have to be tough to survive.
Yeah.
And if you don't like that, well, tough.
And that's literally a line in the song.
Literally a line. He basically looks right into the camera and goes, if you don't like it, tough.
And what's great, though, is just, like I said, this is the most 90s of them because that song is, like, straight out of the 90s. Like, the guitar, all of it is
That's right,
just...
there was guitar.
Yeah, it's the only one that I've heard so far in this rewatch that has that type of guitar riff.
It's one of the things, too, I'm sure it would have cost more money, and that's one of the reasons why they didn't do it. But I feel like so much of the singing in the two that we have seen is very phoned in.
Yes.
You could have a little bit more, I don't know, credence to these shows if they had people who could sing, even if they were hiring different people to sing and not the voice actors. Because if you're going to try and make it a musical, at least try to be good with the music parts.
Yeah.
Because so many of these feel like they are first drafts that were just like, yep, good enough, send it through. Like I don't
they
feel
are
like
pumping one out every year.
yeah, I don't feel like that there was nearly enough attempt at trying to make good songs.
No, there
because
wasn't.
you can make. I mean, how many times have we said, "Oh yeah, well this musical's got a dumb story and this stuff's lame, but the music's good." Like
Yeah.
But they don't do that with this. At
No,
all.
they
like, ever. As
They
far as I
kind
know.
of Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark this one. Because the music in that's bad, and so's the story, and with it Land Before Time, music's not great, and stories are usually weak, with a few exceptions.
Yeah.
And it's not like other Don Bluth musicals that, like American Tail or Anastasia, that are actually really good. These are not Don Bluth at all. He left that project because he's off to go
He's probably
do another Suck My Dick Disney moment.
Well, I'm sure he's probably collecting a bit of royalties off of their release kind of thing, since it
Possibly,
is his
yeah.
intellectual, because isn't it his intellectual
It's
property?
His and Judy Freudberg and Tony Geiss, who were the writers of the original.
I guess it depends on what the contract was like, because they might be
Yeah.
tossing him a shiny nickel, or he might be getting a decent cut. Who knows?
Yeah,
Who knows?
Who knows?
Anyways, Sarah calls over Baby Steps, and they bitch about the adults acting like children. This is after Sarah's father's "I'm gonna be tough" song. And Sarah and Littlefoot decide that they need to solve the mystery of the missing water. And they sneak away while Baby Steps' grandparents are arguing with Triple Dick Headhorn. The baby gang meets up in secret, but Thag is missing. They follow the sound of the snores to where Thag is snoozing. Ducky and Petrie try to wake him up, but he's dead to the world in dreamland, dreaming about all the sweet, sweet spike tail he's gonna get as an adult.
And suffering from sleep apnea.
Yeah.
Spike, you have a severe medical condition. Yep. Spike, you're not reaching REM state. You're probably not actually getting restful. Spike, I'm kind of concerned that you're gonna die. No, just fucking die.
Fag eventually wakes up from his dry, wet dream, and the baby gang fully assembles to set out on their thirsty adventure. The baby gang plays the excited running and screaming game.
Yay! To remind us that they're children.
Yep, and that they don't have Nintendo. They run off screen.
Tiktaalik isn't available on their latest smart rocks.
Nice! I approve.
Doing the latest dance on Tiktaalik.
So they play the running screaming game, and they run and scream off screen. But then they appear in the next scene, and Petrie asks how they find water. And Baby Steps is like, we smell for it, of course. And the gang starts to sniff the ground like bloodhounds to sniff off into the night looking for water. Now,
instead of sending their flyer friend up into the air.
Yes, I thought about that too. Like, you have one of your party who can fly. Mm-hmm. Even if he can't fly very far, very high, he could at least go above to, like, maybe see the surrounding area a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, it's better than being on the ground floor.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that made me laugh about that is that what animals do? Do they sniff out water?
Water does have a scent that animals can. They wouldn't be scenting it out that way.
Yeah,
they'd more be smelling for fresh vegetation near the water.
See, I was thinking like they're trying to smell for like mud or something, because you know it's kind of like when it rains, you know, you can smell it in the air a bit like that. But anyway, they literally put their noses to the ground like bloodhounds and are
and that's not how dinosaurs would do that.
And just for full
Oh, gross!
Yep, just for full transparency to our listeners, Steven the cat has come into the recording studio, jumped onto Kay's lap, and then proceeded to glob a big old wet glob of drool down Kay's arm.
That was so gross, Steven.
But look at this orange love ball laying in your lap, Kay. He absolutely adores you.
Yeah.
He's like,
he does.
I gotta get more comfortable. Love me! Stop recording!
You aren't even my cat, but I still love you.
He loves you the most.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning, a sad, dehydrated adult stegosaurus sneaks over to the water, all careful-like, and gets a couple of early morning drinks before water cop Dickhorn chases him off. Just being like, it's not your turn! Ah! It's not your turn! Ah!
All cops are ceratopsians.
You like
all ceratopsians. Oh, yeah.
They're your
I like
favorite.
ceratopsians.
Ceratopsians are your favorite.
Yeah.
Anyways, after water cop Dickhorn chases off the stegosaurus, who literally looks like he's about to die.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like the way that they animated him, he's all...
Oh my god.
He's like all wrinkly. Oh, Jesus, Steven! How can your face secrete that much moisture, you disgusting little furball?
Oh, but we love you.
Yeah, we do. You're pretty damn cute. Kay's gonna need an allergy pill when we're done.
Yes, I am.
All right. After the stegosaurus gets chased off scene, the scene changes to the babies, who are tired from spending all night sniffing for water. They're so thirsty that they don't notice that they're, like, right next to a secret pond full of fresh, delicious water. They hear, I don't remember if they hear splashing or something like that.
Yeah, a fish jumps out of the water.
And that's when they're like, oh, what's that? All of our sniffing for water, and we couldn't realize that we're like 10 feet away from a source of water.
Mm-hmm.
The babies go to the pond and drink their fill, and they're like, yay, we're not dying of thirst anymore. The baby gang decide to try and tell the adults that they found more fresh water. But the bully dinos show up to be like,
yeah, this is our water, and you can't have any, or tell anyone about it. Yeah.
And the baby gang tells the bullies to go fuck themselves. And they leave to tell the adults about the new water source. I mean, it's a small water source, and they'll run out of it pretty damn quickly, but they run off to notify the parental authorities anyway. The baby gang kind of gets lost as they're getting away from the bullies, and they wander a bit and find their way into the Great Beyond.
Mysterious Beyond.
Oh, sorry. The Mysterious Beyond.
Great Beyond is where they'll all end up after a meteor impact.
Very nice, Kay. Very nice. So they wander into the Mysterious Beyond. And from the cliff they're on, they see a big-ass crater, probably caused by one of the volcanic rocks, but it looked like the crater would have been way too big for...
Yeah, that looked more like a meteorite crater, which
yeah.
would have been a lot more catastrophic.
Yeah, that would have brought a pretty quick end to the entire franchise, considering that it's right outside the Great Valley.
Yeah.
Because there's like this crater and like a lake inside the crater, and then on the other side of the crater is the larger lake that feeds the waterfall. Jesus Christ, Steven. You disgusting orange boy. Okay. And from their cliff vantage point, they see that crater, probably caused by one of the volcanic rocks, probably not, from the earlier scene, but the crater has cut off the thundering falls from the greater lake above that feeds into the Great Valley. Some confusing terrain in these parts, I tell you what. Anyways, the babies are like,
We solved the mystery of the missing water, but we need to tell the adults so they can help.
and as they try to head away from the Great Beyond, Mysterious Beyond.
Mysterious
I kept
Beyond.
calling it Great Beyond in my notes. As they try to head
wish
away...
the franchise would die.
As they try to head away from the Mysterious Beyond, God is like, "It's not that simple!" And a storm kicks up suddenly out of nowhere, and lightning strikes cause a fire. The babies run back to the adults to tell them about the fire, and Dickhorn is like, "I'll lead the way to safety, 'cause I'm in charge!" And the other dinosaurs are like, you're going to be leading people to their deaths. That's the wrong way. You'll be going right into the fire if you go that way. Us longnecks are like tall, and we can see for miles and miles. We can see for miles and miles. We can see for miles and miles and miles and miles.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyways, Sarah goes off to die in a fire with her dickhorn father, and the other dinos go the right way.
And she's like, very much like, Dad, and then just, okay, I'll come with, like, you can tell that she's not one to listen to her dad.
Yeah, they tell her not to go, but she's like, I'm gonna go with my dad, and she's all reluctant and shit, because she doesn't want to disappoint her angry father.
She's wishing she could be like Spike and end up adopted by someone not her dad.
Anyways, the other dinos go the right way. The fire is chasing the dickhorns and gaining on them. That fire is a marathon runner, I swear. Sarah falls down a cliff and almost dies, but is rescued by her dad. But not for long, 'cause the fire and impending death. On a slightly better side of things, the other adults are dying of smoke inhalation, and they tell the babies that they have to lead the way, because they can be under the smoke and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Baby Steps tries to lead them to safety, but the smoke is just too thick and they can't see. We then jump back to Sarah, who is screaming and jumping across a flaming area. Cool stunt, Sarah. The fire is out of control and toppling trees, blocking off the dickhorn's escape route. The long necks topple some other trees to try and create a barrier for the dickhorns so that they can cross the flaming area and rejoin the group that they should have stayed with in the first place. Through sheer force of will and a little help from the plot, they're able to make it to safety on an elevated cliff overlooking the Great Valley. The music is swelling and trying to be all calming, but Dickhorn Daddy is like, "Gah! Everything is terrible, and it's all everyone else's fault. Ah!"
And just being kind of like, now we have no food.
Now we have no food, we have no
fucked.
home, we're all gonna die. It's not my fault. Well, I mean, it's not his fault,
No.
but he definitely didn't make anything better. The dinos are all bitching about the environmental disaster and how they can never go back to the Great Valley. And the babies remember to tell the adults that they solved the mystery of the missing water.
I do love the line, though, that Grandma has to
Oh yeah, at least you have your daughter.
Yeah, you have your daughter, and you're still here to care for her, and that kind of is what breaks his armor a little bit, where he's like, oh, yeah, and he actually thanks Grandpa Longneck for saving his ass, and it's sort of his first
little bit of character development.
Yeah, this is the, and I keep wanting to say his name because his name does get revealed later, the Dad Three-Horn, but it's his character development movie is what this one is.
Yeah, it really is, because I can't remember if it's the grandpa or the grandma that saves them from the fire.
The grandpa.
It is the grandpa. Grandpa saves them from the fire by pushing a tree down, and then they rejoin the group, and then, Daddy Three-Horn is all upset about the environmental disaster, and then he gets that reminder that, but you still have your daughter. Your daughter's alive, and you're here to help care for her, kind of thing, which is his little bit like, hey, snap out of it. You got a kid to look after, and it's like, oh, you're right. Okay, what do we know? Because now he's like, rather than giving into the, we're all fucked, he's like, shit, what do I do to take care of my daughter now that we're facing this ecological disaster? But yes, the babies remember to remind the adults that they solved the mystery of the missing water and how it's trapped in the mysterious beyond. See, I wrote it correctly that time. The adults are like, the great beyond? No, the mystery beyond. The mysterious beyond. Fuck me. That place is beyond here, and great, and mysterious, and full of sharp teeth. Ducky then gives us the dumbest LOL line of the movie.
Sharp teeth? I don't like them. Their teeth are too sharp.
God, Ducky.
Astute observation, Ducky. Yep. Astute observation indeed.
Long necks, but their necks are long. Flyers, but they fly.
It's like
3 horns, but they have 3 horns.
It's like she gets stupider every movie.
Does Ducky become the caboose of
basically?
I almost said Never-Ending Story. 14 movies. It might as well be called The Land Before the Never-Ending Story.
Because she starts off as the oldest one.
The land before the time of the Never-Ending Story. But yeah, Ducky just has kind of a little bit of a mental decline. But just that line, this sharp teeth. I don't like them. Their teeth are too sharp.
And again, she is the oldest one. She was the first one to hatch. I mean, we never saw Petrie hatch, but we've got to assume he's younger than Ducky.
Because especially when he's introduced and he can't fly.
Yeah.
If he was older, he probably would have been able to fly.
Yeah, so, Ducky really should be the one taking charge. She's the oldest.
Yep.
Anyways, the bully dinos are seen in the distance hatching a stupid bully plan to get to the water and keep it for themselves, because they're dumb. Sarah is like, good, I hope they get eaten. And the music swells as Baby Steps is like, we need to help them, 'cause it's good to be good. And Baby Steps then sings about how, even though the bullies are bullies, they're still kids, like them. Baby Steps continues to sing and lead his friends into imminent danger, all while practicing his convincing song.
He's like a little Pied Piper.
Baby Steps then ends his song with, I'm going to help the bullies. You do what you want. And he sprints off. The others decide that if they die, they all die together. And they follow Baby Steps. The scene changes to the baddies, and they're traversing into the mysterious beyond. See, I corrected myself. It says Great Beyond right there, and I said Mysterious Beyond. Go me. After getting past a bone-riddled swamp, they find a tiny watering hole, and the lead bully is like, ha! Water for me, and no one else, ha ha! And then he jumps into the pond and drinks, before realizing that he's in a sinkhole, and that he's about to die.
A sinkhole of tar.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was tar. I just figured it was
How the fuck did he drink any of that? Like,
did they say it was tar?
Yeah, he says, he's in the tar pit. You've got to hold still.
I wonder if that was a mistake.
It
because
must
he drinks
have been.
water. And
Yeah.
he's like fine because he doesn't drink it and then gag. He drinks it and he's like, water. And he's splashing around it. And then he's like, oh no, I'm stuck. I'm
unless
sinking.
it was the layer of water that sometimes collects on it. But I mean, he gets a pretty good.
Yeah, he drinks it. I don't know if it's like a thin layer of tar on the bottom and then a lot of water, but I feel like that would still get contaminated and taste bad.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're thinking about this way harder than the creators did. But the lead bully, Hip, is concerned because he's about to die because his bully friends are useless. Luckily for Hip, though, the bully boss, the baby gang hear his cries of fear and they come to his rescue, pulling him out of the sinky hole. The adults come from around the corner, and Hip, the bully, hides behind the baby gang because his daddy is with the other adults and he knows that he'll get yelled at. And he does!
Mm-hmm.
This is where we actually get a really sweet moment, with Hip's dad yelling at him and the dickhorn being less of a dickhorn, telling Hip's dad that he should be less of a dick and more kind to his child. And he knows this because he's a dick to his daughter, and he probably should be less of a dick to his daughter, because that's probably why she's such a bitch. Sarah's father has a brief moment of character growth, realizing that they need to all work together and be kinder to one another, because it's better that way when they can all work together and help each other.
This should have been the moral.
It's better than what they shoehorn in at the end. Because I simplified it there, of course, in my notes because, hey, it's me. But a longer version of what happens is the three-horn father tells Hip's father that, if all you do is yell at your son, then all you're teaching him is how to express anger to others, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then he has that slow realization. He's like, I know this because I yell at my daughter too much and he says, often when I'm scared for her safety.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And you get that. Because I've been in that situation too. Like, when you're worried that someone's in danger, you're very much, no. Like, you yell because you're trying to get their attention. Stop! Like,
yeah.
I remember taking care of my sister when she was a baby. And, like, if she went to go touch something, no. Like, you kind of yell because it's like, you want to get their attention. And we all have probably known people or experienced it firsthand growing up with somebody who they're much more likely to scream at you when you are doing something rather than like calmly explain.
Yeah.
I've had friends and I've had relatives who it's like, that's their number one thing is they go from 0 to put that fucking thing down.
Yeah.
Right away.
It's definitely one of those, that is one of the most identifiable scenes. That is one of the best scenes. I think that when I was a kid, I was a little bit too close to it, and now as an adult, I'm like, no, that's a good scene.
Yeah, it is a good scene. It's my favorite scene of the show.
Yeah,
is what I would say. And the good moral moment is cut short by raptors, sent by Raptor Satan to eat our heroes and their parents. The adults fight off the raptors while the babies try to escape. But due to a landslide, the adults get knocked unconscious and are surely doomed.
Except for Hip's father.
Except for Hip. Hip's dad tells the babies to run while he distracts the raptors. This gives enough time for Hip to have some character growth and help his dad with distracting the sharp teeth.
And what's a nice thing is that they show the thing that Hypsilophodon was really good at, which is running and being agile, because they were agile little feckers.
So would they be classified like an ostrich type dinosaur?
No, they're because the ostrich mimics are going to be theropods. These guys are still ornithopods.
Oh,
well, ornithopod adjacent.
So it's like they're nimble, like so they would walk on all four, but they could get up to.
Because these guys, I think, if I remember right from my notes, they could walk on all fours.
Like they probably walked on all fours when they were just kind of meandering, but then if they had to run, they would get up on two.
Yeah, because they were mostly bipedal, very quick. That tail was a rudder so that they could dodge in and out and keep from getting themselves eaten.
Thanks, Kay.
You're welcome.
The babies decide. Oh, actually, I will say a scene in here that I did like was that the other two bullies were like, your dad is dumb. Like, look at that idiot putting himself in danger. And then Hip is like, my dad is not dumb. And then he's like, I'm going to go help him. And so you get a character growth from him as well, which is cool to see. The babies decide to stick to an old tactic, but a tried and true tactic of tipping large rocks onto sharp teeth. It's worked well in the previous two movies. It must work well in this one. Spoiler, it does barely anything. The babies can't do it by themselves, and they're able to get the bullies to aid in pushing the boulder onto the raptors. This doesn't work, and the raptors shrug off the multi-ton boulder Like, it lands on them, and then it, like, breaks into a bunch of pieces, and they just come out from under the rubble, and it's like, excuse me, you should be a pancakeosaurus by now. Like, they should have to scrape you off the bottom of that rubble.
Mm-hmm.
You should be a little more leaky. I would refer you to the first Land Before Time when I said a busted sack of blood and bones, of meat and bones.
Oh, God.
It's true. It's a boulder. Rocks are heavy.
Yeah, no, and I mean, the raptors are going to be closer to birds, so they're not going to be nearly as sturdy as a Rex.
Mm-mm. So we'll just say that. Anyways, but pushing of the boulder apparently freed up a little trickle of water, which then becomes a rush, and the water explodes out from behind the rocks and flows into the river and down the thundering falls, which returns life to the great valley and puts out the fires that were raging there.
I love when the raptors are in the trench watching the adults climbing up, because the adults are all, okay, we gotta get out of here, and they're just like, huh?
Why are they running? One thing that made me laugh, though, is when they're in that trench and they see and they're like, run! And then it shows the adults and they're just slowly meandering because they're huge and they can't run. I just love that. It's just, run as fast as you can, but we weigh multiple dozens of tons and we can't move too fast.
We're the largest living land creatures.
We're the largest land creatures that have ever lived.
Yeah.
But meander more quickly.
God.
The bullies and the baby gang patch things up and seem to become friends. The narrator is like, but not all was well. The fire destroyed much of their green food, but instead of giving into despair, the dinos broke into search parties to look for more green food, and through teamwork, the area... Something got fucked up there. It would not be a Warren recounting without at least one completely illegible sentence due to fat fingering and autocorrecting on part of the word program.
Expression.
So what I think I attempted to write here is that through teamwork, they are able to ensure that everyone has food. The bullies kind of have an odd moment as they are trying to be good by, like, saying, hey, we found food, but being good makes them unsure, so then they have to be aggressively good, because not sharing is for scaredy eggs, because it's like, the Hip, I keep wanting to call him Hype, but Hip is like, we found food kind of thing, and they're like, wait, are we being good? And he's like, yeah, we're being good. Because not sharing is bad. We don't want to be bad, right? And it's kind of this awkward...
It's so awkward.
It's this awkward character growth step in the right direction, but feels kind of out of place. It's kind of funny. But, yes, the narrator continues narrating the importance of sharing and giving to ensure that everyone has enough to eat. The music swells, and the narrator continues saying that, in the years to come, the story of scarcity would be told again and again as a time where all dinosaurs from all walks of life, except Sharpteeth, because fuck those murderous monsters, came together and gave and shared. And this was to be known as the time of the great giving. Music swells, zoom out, roll credits.
Your sister was so great when he was ramping up to that. She just, no!
The end. Until movie 4.
Mm-hmm. Which we're gonna wait on.
Yes, we are. The condors will not peck out our eyes, because...
They know not to get in the way of me and Jingle Jangle.
We will be doing our Land Before Time Gauntlet in parts.
Yes.
This concludes part 1.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Raptor Jesus.
Thank you, Raptor Jesus. And Con and Dor.
And, I guess, Con and Dor by proxy.
But yeah, It was better than I remembered it.
It was. I liked this one more than the second one.
Yeah.
Even though I like Chomper because, I tend to like the predator dinosaurs.
Chomper, honestly, his better movie is Fifth.
I was going to ask when Chomper comes back.
Yeah, the Fifth movie, which is, like, looking back, one of my favorites just because they do some world building in it that I really enjoyed. Because I'm kind of sick of lumbering, scary, sharp teeth. I'm sick of having theropods being the dumb brutes all the time because compared to your herbivore dinosaurs, they would have been a little bit more intelligent. And, your smartest dinosaurs are theropods. Looking at you, ravens. I have a soft spot for theropods.
You do have a soft spot for theropods.
They lead to the best birds. Because they are birds. But, yeah, or birds or theropods. Anyway, I was surprised with how much I liked it this time around. And I guess liked is strong, but in terms of Land Before Time sequels, I liked it more.
I liked this one more because of the secondary moral.
Yeah, the secondary moral saves this movie.
And which I'm not a parent, but I've seen enough children being raised that, compassion is important to teach to children because then they learn to have compassion for others, We've all known those kids growing up that had a parent that just was an asshole to them, and that kid is an asshole to everybody else. There are exceptions, like you, who is a kind, sweet, loving person, but did have an asshole parent. So, but yeah.
Not Mama K. Mama K is a saint.
Mama K is a sweetie. But
he who shall not be named.
But it's, I don't know. This one, like I said, I have mixed feelings about it. I like it more than the other ones, but it also might just be my perception is altered because we've been watching, we had the first Land Before Time, which is just, even though it's inaccurate by today's standards and all that stuff, it still holds up. It's still top tier for me because just partly nostalgia. The second one is a steep departure from that tier of awesome. And then the third one kind of creeps up a little bit more. And then we'll just have to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, but next week we get a break. We get to see Jingle Jangle. I am so excited.
I am excited for that.
I am not going to prepare anything beforehand because I don't want any spoilers, and I'm worried that anything I find will tell me. I'm going into this one completely blind, other than that I know that Keegan-Michael Key is in it, and Anika Noni Rose, who was Tiana, is in it. That's all that I know, because I can't remember the cast list right now, other than it's fucking amazing, and I'm not going to look up the cast list because I don't want to be spoiled.
Kay is excited because it's black.
I'm so excited! I finally get a whimsical black Christmas movie! I don't care if it's cheesy! We deserve cheesy this year!
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, dear God, it's the first time I've been excited for a Christmas movie. Yeah, I'm so excited.
Do you have anything you'd like to say in closing, Kay?
If anyone spoils Jingle Jangle for me, I'm going to rip their throats out.
I second that, and I will lie to the cops and help hide the body.
Exactly. So thank you guys so much for...
Nobody, no crime. Nobody, no crime.
God. Small Town Murder's great. I think we finished the latest one. Anyway, yeah, I thank you guys so much for listening and joining us on the first part of this Land Before Time Gauntlet.
Would you say it's the first leg of our Land Before Time journey?
Yes, it is the first leg of our Land Before Time journey to the mediocre valley.
To the great beyond.
To the mysterious beyond. And then we'll go beyond the mysterious beyond.
Wait. Is that... Oh, God. That's a thing, right? Beyond the mysterious beyond.
That's a song.
Jesus Christ. What's the point of...
From the weirdest movie in the series.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us this week. If you would like to reach out to Kay and I, you can do so on our home base, which is tonedeafmusical.com. There we have links to all of our social medias, our Twitter, our Facebook, our Instagram, as well as a link to the Cast Junkie Discord server where we have our own Not Safe for Work channel. Please feel free to drop in, say hi, talk about musical theater, share pictures of your pets, or just shoot the shit. And if you want to go above and beyond, you can donate to our Patreon, which is Tone Deaf Musical. We have different tiers there if you want to show your support. If you want to help us out without spending a dime, you can do so by leaving us a review on wherever you get your podcasts, whether
iTunes,
it be
Podchaser, CastBox, Overcast, Stitcher.
all those good places.
All those places.
And if you leave a review, Kay will sing it on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And if you mention our wonderful, mostly silent third co-host, Latte, she gets a cookie.
Yes.
Nothing for Steven, though. You can leave a shout-out for Steven, but he drools on Kay and gives her way too many hives.
I've got some pretty gnarly ones right now. We're going to have to take care of them. Look at that. They're bright red, man. Ugh, friggin' cat.
All right. Well,
So,
that's been enough for this week.
yes, I'm Kay,
I'm Warren.
and this has been
Tone Deaf.